Welcome back to the Last Week This Week podcast, episode 71. I'm Ian Scott.
And I'm Zack Huber.
And this is the podcast where we talk about film and TV topics from the last week and give them to you all this week. And this week, as always, we have a few exciting topics to go over with you guys and a couple of trailers.
Yeah, we are not talking about Marvel this week, which is kind of... Maybe,
Wow.
We're not talking about Marvel at all. Yeah, we're not talking about Marvel, or Disney.
Look at us. Look at us, Zack.
We're breaking new ground.
This feels crazy.
Yeah, so the two trailers we're going to talk about today. The Minecraft movie trailer, which, spoiler alert, I hope nobody wasted their time watching it, but we'll go into it. The Wolfman trailer that's coming out of Blumhouse. We're also going to talk about George R.R. Martin's blog post, where he addressed some things he didn't like about season 2 and maybe the rest of House of the Dragon. Josh Brolin being offered the role of Hal Jordan, and Matt Reeves giving a little bit more insight into the Batman universe, where I guess he was talking in an interview about what Batman 2 is looking like and kind of what they're expecting, what you might expect to see in the next movie. Mm-hmm. But the first thing that we're going to talk about today is so Joker, Folie, Deux is coming out on October 4th, and it just debuted at a film festival. And as the time where I was writing our notes, currently it was sitting at 61% with 44 reviews.
Started off a little lower, I think.
It started, I think, in like the 50s.
Yeah, like 52 maybe. Yeah, I think that's what I saw.
And so the only things that I was seeing for a minute was it in even though the way that Rotten Tomatoes is set up, it's like even 50 means like half the critics liked it, half the critics hated it, but it still gets put into the rotten
section. Right. Which I think deservedly so. If you rate a movie a 5 out of 10, you probably don't really like it, you know?
But it's like an aggregate of like the people who like it. So I always find it a bit strange. But so people were a bit like, I guess, surprised that it was getting such of a negative, quote unquote, negative reaction. I see it a bit more like a polarized reaction. Mm-hmm. Although I don't see a ton when it comes to the positive reviews. I didn't see a ton where it was like outright praise. That's something just to keep in mind. But something that I think would be interesting to know is that the first Joker, which I really like, I did not understand or realize, I guess, that there are so many people that do not like that movie, which like I understand. Like
I know there's like the camp that like kind of thinks it's a copy of like Taxi Driver and like one other movie I think that Scorsese did.
Yeah, so Taxi Driver and then King of Comedy.
Right. So I mean I guess if you're a big fan of those movies, you're like probably not crazy in love with the Joker.
And I really like those movies, and I watched those in right before I watched Joker.
Oh,
so
really? Nice.
I could see like the inspiration, but that's what I saw it as, was inspiration. I didn't see it as like a ripoff.
A copy, right.
But I know there's a lot of people that don't like those movies. There is that camp that you're talking about. I think there's camps of just people being upset with the portrayal of like Joker as this kind of incel,
a Joker who's not
character.
Really Joker. Yeah.
The Joker that's not really Joker. So there's, and I'm sure there's plenty of other viewpoints that I'm not aware of. But that first Joker movie at a 601 reviews is at 69%. And that's
which means basically 7 out of 10 critics liked it, which isn't bad.
And an audience score of 89.
That's pretty high. Yeah.
So I'd be curious to know what the audience score for this new one coming out would be. Considering the critic score is still,
it's kind of in the same range, you know?
Yeah, it's only like 8% apart so far. And we're at 44 reviews, so quite away from what the end result will be.
Right.
So I'm not gonna take any of the reviews that we've been seeing as an indication of whether this is a drop in quality or whatnot.
Yeah.
but I could go over some of the ones on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, I couldn't name like specific reviews, but like the ones that I did read, like the one that sticks out to me was more negative than not, and it was basically like basically Lady Gaga is great in it as Harley Quinn, but basically they in the review they mentioned that like there's a huge courtroom drama in this movie, and it really like halts the momentum of the movie, and it takes her completely out of the movie. And then they were also like, it doesn't have anything new to say for Arthur. Like there's no real development there for him in this one. So yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, I want to hear what you had.
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to find necessarily the one that I was thinking about. But one of something that I stuck out when I was listening to people sound off some of the reviews was not as smart as it thinks it is.
Right.
Not as didn't dive into the music stuff as much, which
I heard some people say it wasn't really a musical,
which is what I like. I knew like somewhere along the lines, the idea of it being this straight up musical got into people's heads, where I had read people talk about that, like there will be music moments, but I wouldn't call it a musical. So I wonder how much of it was like expectations that there'd be like, it would be a musical.
I think people had those expectations though, because I mean, from what I remember, that was like the first or second report about this movie ever was that this was going to be a musical, and everyone's like, "Whoa, yeah."
But I haven't seen it, so
sure, yeah. But no one has except critics.
But positive review. Frank Avella. Phoenix is masterful, and he and Gaga make an awesome screen team. She is sublime. Her role is smaller than expected, but she makes the most of it and delivers her best screen performance to date, which is really saying something if it's true, because I really loved her in A Star Is Born. Like, amazing.
I mean, I haven't seen that movie, but I mean, I did expect this to be like she was as equal of a co-star in this movie as Joker. I guess that's what I was expecting with this, and I can't lie, I am a little disappointed that it's a smaller role. And I think it does back up the fact that like this guy was saying she's pretty much like, once the courtroom drama happens, she's pretty much out of the movie. So I hope that like maybe their relationship has some like huge impact on Arthur. And maybe that's like the courtroom stuff goes different because of it. Because if not, it almost feels like somewhat of a waste of a character in a sense. I hope it's not the case, but yeah.
Negative review. Shane McKevitt. Joker Folie Deux certainly sings a different tune than its predecessor, but it isn't an encore worth sticking around for. Wah wah. This is, and this is also some. There's going to be a lot of social commentary, as was the first one. But this is a positive review from Rafaela Sales Ross. Sorry if I butchered
struggling with these names.
Of all the things Phillips does better in Joker Folie Deux than he did in Joker, the best is by far his course correction in catering to radical misogynists. Which I'd love to know what that is referring to.
I didn't think the first one catered to radical misogynists, but okay, sure.
Yeah. So interesting viewpoint.
Interesting review.
One thing that Joker Folie Deux really does get right is how this version of the Joker is not really a bad guy. He's a mirror for society. I
mean, I would say the same about the first one.
It is not that this version of the Joker is inherently wrong, but it is uninteresting. Please let us be done with this.
Well, they did say it was done after this, but they don't have any other stories to tell.
Some people really hate this depiction of what Joker could be, and I find it so strange, honestly, because I felt like the first one did such a great job of I can't speak. I can only speak for the first movie, but I've walked into a comic book store and had a conversation with the person at the store, like selling me books. That why did they have to make the Joker into this incel? And I'm like, well, if like the same thing with like Batman in the real world, like if like the closest that we can get, like you still kind of change him, kind of not, but you can explore different you can just explore different kind of psyches of what, like the same way that Watchmen kind of made their characters and fully developed, and you can understand their thought processes, and like they were very damaged individuals in different ways, and you can understand that. And I don't know, like I thought that seeing the Riddler as like a similar kind of character in the Batman was interesting, and that's how. And
for sure,
I don't think that
like they have remnants of their own characters, but they're a new take, and I don't think a new take is necessarily bad.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that find that like Joker has to be this really animated and like crazy, outlandish version of himself, which I just don't. I don't know. I just think it's a little it's a criticism that I just find annoying because I
don't disagree with you, and I think why they made the first movie the way it was. I think one is that you never had like a definitive origin for Joker, and I think most people like almost prefer Joker to not have an origin. For him to be just this mysterious villain, right? But I think when you're making a movie solely about him, I think one, you have to create an origin, and two, I think you have to make him like human, like for the audience to relate to him at all. And I think that like they did a beautiful job of that in the first movie. Like, yes, he's a disturbed person, but like you understand him fully, and you understand like why he's doing things, and you understand that society has driven him to this point, and his family has driven him to this point. And I don't know. I don't necessarily think that makes him an incel. I just think he went crazy by everything.
Yeah. I think an incel is probably a wrong word to put onto that, because
agreed.
It's more of a
just somebody who's
like who's been treated wrongly by
society like for his entire life.
Yeah, so many different aspects of society itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Not just because a woman did not, like him.
No.
But in this kind of like string of we've talked about previously, but in these rotten reviews right here, they talk about like this incarnation of the Joker feels exhausted, which I can understand that, because I never really wanted a sequel to this movie.
I didn't either. I didn't want it at all. Yeah.
So that I honestly think is a fair assessment, and I would love to. I'm very excited to see this movie, because I think the idea of it sounds interesting as a sequel.
Yeah.
But I agree, like we'll see what they do with it, but like it feels like it could be that this is the case, because it's like I wonder how much more of that story there really was to tell.
Exactly. I really want there to be a reason for following the character again, and I don't know. I hope it's not a waste of time. I hope they have something more to say with it.
Yeah.
But like the trailer looked amazing. I mean, I was so hyped by the trailer, and I don't know. It doesn't scream that it's got nothing to say to me, I guess. So
yeah,
I'm a little skeptical of those reviews, but I guess we'll see in a little less than 3 weeks.
Yeah, and some of these positive reviews, like they're saying like it's compelling, it's strange, it's got it like
but it doesn't like blow them out of the water. It's not amazing, right?
And it's saying like it's introducing new elements, but maybe not the same like fire and excitement as the original.
Sure.
Another one, dancing and music are maybe not that, but there's one that's like defies all expectations. I can see that. It's better that the filmmakers chose to take a creative swing rather than be safe. Joker Folie Deux is an entirely unique anti-hero film. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I would want is for it to be the exact same movie as the first one. So,
but I've also heard like great things from like some people are saying it's like one of the boldest American-made movies in years. I don't know.
That's a pretty like glowing review right there. So,
and I think that was coming from somebody at a film festival. They might have. It might have been.
Yeah, I mean, I heard it. I mean, I know that like all movies at like these film festivals get like minutes long standing ovations, but I did hear this one got an 11-minute long standing ovation. So at least Venice Film Festival seemed to like it.
Can you imagine like clapping for 11 minutes?
I couldn't imagine actually being there. I'd probably lose my mind. Like like maybe the actors are coming out like one by one and like bowing or I don't know. I don't know why you would just stand for 11 minutes and clap. It doesn't.
I would love compute. Like a Quentin Tarantino style, like end movie sequence where like they just played this amazing movie and all you hear is clapping and then like
for like 10 minutes straight.
But then like you're like you either like you see somebody and it becomes like a chase sequence and all you hear is clap. It like I don't know. It'd be kind of
yeah. But that'd be neat.
But yeah, I think that's the reviews.
Right. That's the reviews, and we'll be able to judge for ourselves soon. So, yeah.
Yep.
Well, now we're gonna move on to our trailers this week, and first up is our Minecraft movie trailer. Now this one was I don't know if I'm surprised by this or if I'm disappointed. I don't know what to feel, but it's
Do you feel anything? Do you feel anything
I don't feel
when you
good.
watch this trailer?
I don't feel good when I watch this trailer.
Yeah.
I think here's the thing. So when you go like when you play the trailer, the first like 5 seconds, it's not bad. Like
not bad.
Like,
yeah.
Like the world looks really good.
Right.
I like it. It's bright. And then the human characters step out from this portal and they look so ridiculous. Like any human character, like I don't know, it's just like the laziest like writing you could do. Let's just like plop in some humans into a video game world and let them run around. Like so disappointing.
Yeah, it's the fact that like why? Like I give me and I hope they do. Maybe it's just a really bad trailer, but why do we have to have literal live action like people in the Minecraft world? Because it's so jarring. And
it's jarring, but it's also so jarring because of like the way they're dressed. I don't know. I mean, like it's just it's so ridiculous. And I think if they're trying to like say that these are like a play on the Minecraft skins, then like it's a really bad play on it and it doesn't work at all, you know?
Yeah. And also there's something about the way that the world is animated and the way that they are lighted, like they're lit, lighted, the way that they're lit. Like, I'm like, I don't believe that you're in this world. I mean, it's hard to believe that in general because you're a human being in this animated world.
Yeah.
But it's like, I really just feel like you're on a set in green screen.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, like when, I don't know if you remember that point in the trailer where like Jack Black was on fire and he like shrugged or like, was like shaking it off or whatever. It just looked, I don't know, like the special effects even like on a human didn't look good. And I was like, come on, man. Like we got to do better than this.
Right. And it's frustrating because when I look at like the wolf howling in front of the moon and I look at these like the pigs, whatever the fuck's going on with the pigs. So
I like everything in the world except a few animals, but I feel you. Right.
Yeah. Right. Like I could go without the goat or whatever.
The sheep and the llama. Right. Yeah. They didn't look very good. Right. But everything else, like I agree. The wolf at the moon. Yeah, the animation looks really nice. So why do we have to put these humans in there? Like, and also, I'm sure they'll have some reason
it'll probably be that Steve, who's Jack Black, has been in this world for a fuck long time, and it's giving Jumanji vibes, honestly.
Yeah, so
like it's giving
I was just gonna
Robin
say
Williams
like Jumanji.
Jumanji.
Like, what's going on?
And if
well, even more
Yeah,
so
I mean-
with the new Jumanji. I mean, do you remember that plot line where there was an actual like person who had gone in like years or decades ago, and he was just stuck in the Jumanji game? The first one with Jack Black.
I thought that was always the story, even with the Robin Williams.
Sure,
one.
but like the Robin Williams one, he was like stuck in this kind of like alternate timeline that went on for like years and years and years, right? But like in this one, it's like in the new one, I guess I should say, it's like a literal, people going inside of a video game, and like somebody went inside like years and years before they did, and like they were stuck in there and they met him. So that's like the exact same concept.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what I'm assuming.
Right?
On.
No, I mean, I don't disagree, because why would Steve be human? I don't know.
I don't know, but and even that, put that aside, like jokes, not good.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa, I guess he looks kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't really. I want to know. I want to know why he's dressed like that. But
we got no idea. I think what's disappointing too is that like you have such a great voice actor in Jack Black, and you decide to do like the worst thing possible with him. Like you basically just like plop Jack Black on a green screen without any like he's just Jack Black. He's not Steve. You didn't like cut his hair. You didn't trim his beard. Like you didn't do anything.
Yes.
And I'm just, why?
It's like the same issue that I have with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, pretty much just being Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Or Jack Black in Star Wars is just Jack Black, cosplaying Star Wars. He's not inhabiting a character, which I love Jack Black, but he's literally
when he's being typecast as himself, which is so funny.
When I look at this trailer, I'm like, that's just Jack Black.
Right.
That's not Steve. That's literally Steve. That is what Jack Black looks like if you were to meet him in real life.
Agreed.
And that's how he would act. It's just crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah. I mean, so the one good thing about this trailer that I actually thought was cool, they teased that like the like Jason Momoa made some like, I can't remember what it was, but made some like exercise like equipment or like weightlifting equipment or whatever.
So they'll have like the crafting element.
Yeah, but it's like it's crafting items that like isn't even in the actual like, game of Minecraft. And I think that's a neat idea to be able to like creatively, I don't know, like they have an imagination, and they, if they do it right, I didn't mind it. I like, and Steve even had that line in the trailer where they were like, this is a world where you can make anything, and I was like, okay, this is like the one good thing I can take away from this trailer, which is that it's like kind of a neat spin on the crafting. But
sure.
Yeah. It's rough the rest of the way. As a refresher, this one is directed by Jared Hess, who was the director of Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay. What else has he done?
You have to look him up. That's like the only thing I recognize from him. I think there's like one other movie. Oh, he did Nacho Libre. I know that.
Okay.
But those were both like 20 years ago. So, And then it's written by Chris Bowman and Hubel Palmer, which I have not seen anything they've done. The things they have done are Masterminds and 95 Senses. And this one's releasing next April 4th. So get your tickets.
Interesting. I'm curious as to why this guy hasn't made anything in so long. And, what's
the last movie you made?
It was, it might have been that Masterminds movie. Honestly, I can't I'm too lazy to pull it up again. Honestly.
That's fine. That's funny. I think they all three, like the two writers and him worked on that together. I could be wrong, but
yeah. I mean,
no, they did. Cool.
Nacho Libre and Napoleon Dynamite are definitely like great movies.
Maybe that's why he picked Jack Black, because of Nacho Libre. Just got a familiarity there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But you know, in my book, he's 2 for 2 out of the movies I've seen.
Yeah.
So,
right. But it's been since 2007 since you've seen a movie of his. So
I mean,
it's
I
been
know.
a while, and this isn't anything like those 2 movies. So,
yeah.
Don't have high hopes for
it's
this
weird. One. It's these two beloved, some pretty original ideas as far as I'm aware, and then we're going for video game IP.
Right.
It's I don't know.
It's I don't think it's the right direction, but it's a huge movie he's getting to make with a huge budget, I'm sure. So why not do it, right? But yeah, I say we move on to our next trailer and talk about Wolfman. This is one I hadn't seen until really recently. Hadn't heard anything about it, so I'll let you take the lead on this one.
So, Wolfman, being made by Blumhouse, which is the production company that's headed by Jason Blum, who has made a living off of making very low budget horror movies and then making a ton of money. And this movie is directed by, if I might pronounce this wrong, I'm having trouble with names today, Lee Winnell, who did The Invisible Man and Insidious 3 of most prominence, I guess. And I did not see Insidious 3. I'm a big fan of the first Insidious. But I did see The Invisible Man. And The Invisible Man is great.
I've heard it's really good.
Really great movie. I suggest that people check that out and also check out Blumhouse movies. You may not like Five Nights at Freddy's. I was mixed on it, but it was still overall fun. And they made that. They've made a ton of other great horror movies. I think they even did My Beloved Megan. And so this one is about Wolfman, which I feel like is a pretty, like, we all kind of get the idea as a werewolf. It's a man who turns into a werewolf. Right. But kind of the two exciting thing, well, maybe three. One, Blumhouse is making it. It's starring our girl, Julia Garner from Ozark, which I'm very excited about. She's great.
Yeah.
And just watching this trailer, I mean, like, it's got such a great visual.
It does have a good vibe.
The visuals, the vibe is so great. I love that where you're just kind of getting this story and of what the movie's kind of about. And we're getting the idea that maybe something's a bit off with the dad of these two girls, or maybe just one girl. And we just slowly start getting these tear marks, and that they are like turning into the Wolfman logo while all this,
that was my favorite part.
Shots start happening.
I did love visually seeing that kind of pop up. And then like also throughout the trailer, like the first half seemed like it was those three against something, but then it slowly turned into like the dad becoming a Wolfman and like terrorizing his daughter. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. I don't know. I mean, like, even though I'm not a horror movie guy, like, this sounds really interesting.
And I don't even think that this will be like that much of like a horror. Like, it's not going to be like a crazy intense kind of horror movie. But I do kind of like that the way that this wolf man is kind of being designed is kind of similar to the way that, because when you think of like a werewolf in a lot of different movies, like when it started off, you had like just a really hairy guy with fangs. And I was like, all right, that's kind of goofy.
But and you had Teen Wolf.
And then, but then it turned into like werewolves are either these huge wolves or it's like a monstrous, like super large, like wolf that stands on 2 feet and it's got big muscles and stuff. And you're like, okay,
or
scary, but Or what's the other one?
Well, the Harry Potter one where you just turn into a wolf.
Right.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you just turn into a wolf.
You just turn into a wolf, right?
But I kind of like that this one reminds me of that Quarry game that we played.
Oh, yeah.
And these wolves are like, it's like, yeah, it's a terrifying, like it's kind of lankier, but it's still a wolf, and it's like bipedal, so it is walking around. And the vibe that I got, like when it hits its arm was like crashing through the car window, it was definitely like a skinnier kind of appearance. And I don't know, I just think that
I believe you'll still see some of the man inside. Like I don't think he'll be a complete wolf guy, you know.
Yeah, but like I like the we'll see how it goes, but I kind of hope it goes more in that direction than, like, let's say Werewolf by Night, which I liked Werewolf by Night, but I'm not crazy about like the guy that just starts to get fangs, and he still looks like a guy, but now he's just really hairy. Like, it's not my favorite depiction of like a wolf man. But,
no, I feel you.
But it looks a lot. It looks intense, but it looks really good, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I props to the trailer for not showing the appearance at all, for not showing us even like the process, like any kind. Like all we saw was like the dad healthy, and then we never saw him again. And I love that we didn't see any of the buildup or any of like him actually being the wolf man. Right. Yeah, and I don't know. It kind of leads me to believe that like maybe it's more than just him that gets turned, because it sounds like it's contagious, right? That maybe he was bit.
Oh yeah, he's like got sick or something.
Right, right.
Probably.
And maybe he infects the mother. I don't know. That would be pretty tragic, but
yeah,
it'd be a good story. Yeah.
And I don't know if Blumhouse has all the rights to those like classic monsters.
Oh yeah, weren't they gonna make the MonsterVerse at one point? Well, I don't think it was Blumhouse, but
no, it was gonna be like
the
Warner
Dark
Brothers.
Universe.
Or it was the Dark Universe. I can't remember if it was Warner Brothers.
It was gonna start with the Tom Cruise Mummy movie.
Yeah.
Didn't really turn out well.
I would love to see like a Frankenstein, a modern which.
I think Frankenstein's a great story. You could do it.
But we are going to get a Nosferatu, which is not Dracula per se, but it is kind of Dracula.
Kind of.
Which is coming out this year, which I'm excited about. But I would love to see, I'd love to see some updated, like Creature from the Black Lagoon.
The Black Lagoon, yeah. For sure. Yeah,
that'd be cool. It'd be fun.
It'd be neat to see a dark universe come together.
Yeah.
I wasn't against the idea.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
When's this one
This
coming
looks
out?
great. Oh God, I forget.
Well, it's this year probably, right? Yeah.
I'd imagine. Wolfman 2024 release date. It says it's January 17th, 2025. So
a little early of a trailer.
Yeah, we got some time to go.
Good,
but that's okay.
Sounds good. We got Nosferatu first then.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
It's gonna be sick.
Neat. Well, I think that's all we had to say on that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So next we're gonna talk about George R.R. Martin's now deleted blog post about season 2 of House of the Dragon. I actually got to read this whole thing before it was deleted. You kind of read a summary, I think, right? Some excerpts from it.
The Hollywood Reporter put out.
They did. Okay.
Yeah, like a summary that excluded the big spoilers. Which we will not talk about the spoilers here because I won't let Ian. He's not allowed.
And if I mention it, we'll have to cut it out. So, but yeah. So basically, what he detailed, I think first off, he mentioned the fact that there were mainly book fans that were not happy with the Blood and Cheese episode, but he also mentioned that there were non-book fans, I think the majority of non-book fans, that really liked the episode Blood and Cheese, right? And so he agrees with both sides because he thinks without reading it is a good episode, but basically that what he wrote for that scene, in the books was a lot, I think, stronger of a scene in a sense, because basically, and you know, this gets into the larger part of this discussion, but basically in the books, they're in Blood and Cheese, they go up to Helena, the queen, and basically force her to choose between her two sons, which one like is going to die. And in the show, there isn't a second son. It's just the twins, Jaehaerys and can't remember the other one's name, but
another J,
right? Yeah. And so, and in this scene in the books, she offers her own life instead of her kids, right? And so I think George R.R. Martin preferred that, and he preferred that the two made her choose, and when she did choose, they chose the opposite and basically taunted it in both of their faces, like the remaining son and Helena, right? And so it was a much darker scene, which I think would have really served the episode that we did see. But I still think it was a good episode. But what he's kind of getting to is that the fact that they've written out the second son leads to basically a butterfly effect not happening. And so, or a butterfly effect is happening because of it, because basically without this character existing, there are certain events that will happen later down the road that are directly inspired by like the death of the second son later down. Like if he were to exist, it would be like season 3 probably that it would happen. And so because that son doesn't exist, these certain events are now having to be written in a different way for them to come to fruition. And so it's not like the biggest of butterfly effects because he is a 2-year-old kid. But he does warn in the blog post that there are bigger changes that they're discussing for season 3 and 4 that could lead to much bigger butterfly effects. So, right. That's the summary of that without any real spoilers. And I can't say I disagree with him at all. I hope they don't keep changing major things. I don't think this one is a major thing. I think this is more of like a warning to the showrunners and to HBO saying, please, like, listen to me. I know what I'm doing. But yeah, I know you have your thoughts on this.
So I don't completely disagree with like everything that he's saying. I don't I do think that his mindset, understandably so, like I understand somewhat of his mindset regarding this. Right. And he does know what he's doing regarding writing books and regarding his own material. He's a very successful author. He's created this entire world. It means a lot that he says. Right. With that being said, when we've talked about the fact that you read the spoilers and you think that this is still something that can be avoided, doesn't have to be such a bad butterfly effect.
Basically, through clever writing, it can be avoided, right?
In season 3 and 4, but as much as the depicted scene from the book is, I do think, written stronger and it has much more emotion and I don't know, like guilt or
right.
Who knows? Like, there's just so many more interesting character decisions that are made that would have lasting effects on somebody in the book than necessarily in the show. But I still think that the show wrote it very well. I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was pretty brutal. Yeah. And one of the things that the Hollywood Reporter article was going over was, we have already reduced the size, like the length of this show. We've already reduced the time period that it's going to take place by about 10 years. As opposed to the books, because the kids are supposed to be older than how they are depicted in the show at this point, right? Right. So first of all, I don't see him getting very upset about that. which I think is curious because
I will say he did mention that he wanted to comment on that, like the twins for Helena and Aegon should have been 6, but he has no real way to confirm what these kids' ages are, so he's not gonna like really harp on it.
Sure.
But so to me, it does feel like he would rather everyone be the ages they should be.
Sure.
But yeah.
But we've established that we are not going to be, taking this on a 30-year journey. We're reducing it down to about 20 years. So could you still write Maelor, which is the second son, into the show? You could, but for some reason, they decided that they didn't want to go that route. Yeah. And writing for a TV show is different than writing for a book, is different than writing for a movie, is different for writing for a comic book. And another thing that like Ryan Condal, who is the showrunner, was saying is, look, we have to be decisive about what we decide to write our story around and the set pieces that we choose to have. Like we could have 15 set pieces that are all take place in the book. Right. But we're a TV show and we have a budget, and so we have to pick and choose. And for some reason, they decided that having a second son like Maelor was not absolutely crucial, especially because that character dies anyways. That character is a 2-year-old, and I don't understand all the butterfly effects. But to me, and I could be very wrong. Like season 3 and 4 could come and we could feel those butterfly effects hard, and it could get very, it could end up bad. And that's why I'm not completely disagreeing with what George is saying, because I think he got really, I don't want to say blindsided, because I think they did keep him in the loop the same way that they're keeping him in the loop about all the production choices, all the writing choices. And, they disagreed. They try to come up with solutions together, like all that stuff. So he has access to everything. And of course, you're going to disagree about some stuff. But they did end up, putting Game of Thrones, like having Game of Thrones go in a direction that was not favorable. And he, obviously a lot of us don't like how that turned out. Right. I don't think he did.
I'm sure he's worried about that. Right.
So it's understandable where he's coming from. I just personally think that, without being too mean, why don't you write the rest of your books?
Oh man, got something to say on that. But yeah, go on.
Instead of writing this blog post that I'm not. It is your world. Right. You should feel you should feel like you're able to talk about this. I do think it's interesting that it's taken down.
It was taken down within like 2 days, I think. That he took it down within 2 days because it's his own blog, right?
Yeah.
So okay, 2 things. I think you're right. I think he's more scared though. Like I think this bothered him, like Maelor. I don't think it entirely pissed him off, but I think he needed to use it as an example to basically warn everyone who's watching and the showrunners about like the decisions I think he's really scared about, which are coming in season 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. Obviously we don't know if this was a completely necessary post, because it does, start to create more of a divide in your fan base than there already is. But maybe he did really feel like this was necessary to get his point across. Like maybe they weren't listening to him anymore. I don't know. But the second thing, what's so funny is that like just today I read a headline. Basically, he does have a lot of involvement apparently in the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight. And so the headline was saying that he has been working so much on that this year that he's barely made any progress in his book. And I'm like, George, you cannot be saying that to your fans. I don't care if it's true. You gotta lie. You gotta keep lying. You gotta be like, yeah, hard away at work. Just like, I mean, who's even like looking forward to his book at this point? Because like you have to feel just so like hopeless,
right?
If you're a book fan,
or he has it finished.
You think he has it finished?
Or he has it finished and he's just like, gonna surprise us and everyone's gonna have a heart attack.
That would be huge. He's still got one book to go.
Or he has it finished and it won't come out. Like he has it written in a will that it won't come out till he dies.
But there's one book to go. He can't release that one without the other one.
Well, I thought he was writing both of them concurrently, but I could be wrong.
Not from what I hear. But I could be wrong. Yeah. So.
That'd be absolutely so sad.
If he passed away before he got to complete it, it really would. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, so without spoilers, I don't think this is a huge. I think it's really interesting that he posted this blog and that we got to know his real thoughts on it. I think there are definitely things he likes about the season. I think he loves the cast. I think he does like, obviously his own story, but I don't know if he loves all the decisions being made. I think he'd also want Helena to be written a little differently, but I can't blame him on any of his thoughts. It's his book, it's his world. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I understand where he's coming from. Who knows how much he feels like he's not being listened to?
Right.
Who knows how much of it is him kind of saying things that maybe is more damaging than helpful.
Right. Because I do think
the
that
showrunners are also like, not, maybe are going to like throw things off of, aren't going to do it well. But I thought that season 2, as much as I didn't like it as much as season 1, I don't think it was terrible.
I don't think it was bad. I think it got a little slow in the second half of the season. But I really think the finale was strong. I think the last 2 episodes were really strong. And the first 4 are really good too. So
I feel like all of the negativity was like, we didn't get another dragon fight, and now I feel cheated, And
I am a little surprised we didn't get one after episode 4, but it is what it is. You know? We'll just have to wait another year and a half to get more dragon fights. Sad times, but it takes a while to make these things. So,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our thoughts on what George had to say. But yeah, now we're going to talk about the interesting, I guess, multiple reports on the Lantern show that is expected to begin filming, I think, next year. They are trying to cast one of their leads, Hal Jordan. And the report that came out was that they are eyeing Josh Brolin, and that if they can't get Josh Brolin, then they are eyeing Ewan McGregor and Matthew McConaughey, which are all really interesting choices for Hal Jordan. And then today, Hollywood Reporter released an article saying that Josh Brolin has declined the role of Hal Jordan, and that Matthew McConaughey was not an actual contender. So, I mean, and they mentioned that, like other rumors are, that they saw are also probably not true. But I do think, though, that just being offered the role, like Josh Brolin, I think it does show us like where they are going, like direction wise and casting. And I do think they want a Hal Jordan in their late 40s to 50s. I do think like they want an older guy in the role. And I guess I have a few picks for who could. I don't think I love them per se. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't really want somebody who's been in a role like this before. So Josh Brolin had already been Cable and Thanos. I'm fine with him not being Hal Jordan. And I know. I might really surprise you with some of these. Who knows? But I know Ethan Hawke was just in Moon Knight, but I don't think that's a terrible pick. I think it is in the direction of Josh Brolin, and I think he's got kind of the face for it. Mm-hmm. And I think with this version, I would want to see a more serious Hal Jordan, one who's not like cocky and kind of having a good time. I think what I would like to see maybe is like, just like Batman in this universe, you have a Hal Jordan who's, lived a long life as Green Lantern. And like I was reading that like in the 90s, there was this arc for Hal Jordan where he like basically a villain of his killed the entire town or the entire city of Coast City, which is where he grew up and lived. And there was like 7 million people there. He goes back, like takes revenge and uses his powers to like basically recreate like people and the city and kind of like uses it for his own personal like wants, right? And so the Green Lantern Corps like are on his ass and they're like, hey, we don't want you doing this. And so he goes and I think like, I can't remember exactly, but he kills a few of the Green Lanterns himself and becomes Parallax. And so, and then in the early 2000s, they write that like he was actually like hypnotized / influenced by Parallax, and that's why he went dark. But now he's like a more serious, more like self-doubting Green Lantern because he almost believes that he let himself slip, that it wasn't Parallax, right? And so I think if you want to do a variation of that story, it would really fit into like an older, more serious, brooding like Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
And I think Ethan Hawke can play that kind of role. I think I don't know. I mean, I do think Ewan McGregor like has played that with Obi-Wan. I don't know if I want to see it again from him. I would have really actually been okay with Matthew McConaughey with that kind of a personality and that kind of role. So yeah, I think I'm definitely warming up to this kind of a Hal Jordan existing.
You know who should play Hal Jordan?
Who?
Robert Downey Jr.
He's in his 50s, you know. It works.
I think he should play all the DC roles. I think he should play.
Didn't he just do a movie like that?
It played like most of the roles. It was like the informant or the influencer or something on Max.
Right.
I think he should play Jon Stewart too. I think he should revise his role from Tropic Thunder. Yeah, he's like, I'm the dude playing the dude.
So he's playing an actor from Tropic Thunder who's playing Jon Stewart,
a black guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that can work. Yeah.
By the way, just so everybody knows, this was all coming from Jeff Schneider, by the way.
Yeah, and so it was
the Schneider, what do you call it? I guess it's kind of like his Patreon
YouTube channel,
sort
podcast?
of like. I don't know. It's his blog. Like it's like a post of his that you can subscribe to. So
it did. I mean, this Hollywood Reporter article did confirm that he was right about Josh Brolin, but it did not confirm he was right about Matthew McConaughey. So.
Right. Yeah. And so he was also bringing up the fact that it might be Ewan McGregor, which we have said,
which hasn't been confirmed or denied, right?
Some people like Jeff Snyder, or some people like Hello Goodbye on Twitter or whatever their name is, are hit or miss. But on that Hollywood Reporter article that Ian was mentioning about them saying that Josh Brolin passed on the role. They were saying that from sources, apparently, the story sees the two characters investigating an earthbound murder with larger implications. We already knew that. Right. Sources say that DC and the producers are looking for a young, more fresh-faced actor for the role to play opposite an older and bigger name. So what is really interesting about that?
So they want a young Jon Stewart, right?
Yes.
Is that what okay.
So what that says to me, and I'm not now. I think a lot of people, when they heard, oh, Josh Brolin's going to be Hal Jordan, so Hal Jordan's going to die. And I don't think that's necessarily the case.
No, I don't think so either.
But I don't think that, and I could be wrong. Because I do think that maybe James Gunn would want to be the guy to have a Green Lantern in the Justice League.
No doubt.
That is Hal Jordan. But to a lot of people, Jon Stewart is the Green Lantern that they want to see. So, but what I find really interesting is that you can go one of two ways. You could have but the thing is that Jon Stewart would already be a Green Lantern, so you could go one of two ways. You could have it where, like, yes, like Jon Stewart's the fresh-faced young actor, and maybe eventually he'll be on like the Justice League, or eventually he'll become the main Green Lantern, similar to like how they kind of have like Anthony Mackie taking up the role of Captain America. Maybe that's the plan down the ways. And you have
I definitely wouldn't want to see like him die in the first series. I think that would be really rough to just have Hal Jordan once and then you're like, well, that's it.
But the thing is, like, he could be more of like, hey, like, I'll handle these other things. You are like younger, you can go do these things, like these bigger things that maybe I can't anymore. And he could be like the mentor figure to a Jon Stewart, which is kind of an interesting way to like see like, and I think it's an interesting, maybe, but I think it's an interesting dynamic to create.
Sure. Yeah.
And considering
I like it.
David, is it David Cornsweet is going to be Superman?
Mm-hmm.
Relatively unknown actor, young actor playing Superman.
Yeah.
I am leaning towards the fact that like that's what we're looking at is Jon Stewart is going to be the green like the main Green Lantern kind of moving forward, and Hal Jordan will be more of like how what is the name of the original Ant-Man? Like we have Scott Lang and then we have Hank Pym. So like how Michael Douglas is kind of like the older Ant-Man that we never really got to see as Ant-Man in his prime.
Right.
Could kind of be the case. And so I think I think this does confirm that is kind of like we're getting an older Hal Jordan. I think that's kind of interesting. A lot of people have wanted what's his name, who works with James Gunn a lot, and gets typecast for like every superhero role. Nathan Fillion.
Well, he's already playing.
Right.
Yeah, he's already playing Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
He is a Green Lantern.
My bad. See, all right, man, there you go.
There we go. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head who.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'd want to go for, but like there's plenty of older actors that you could do an Oscar Isaac if you wanted to, maybe.
I was thinking like bigger, like big names, like already, because I think Josh Brolin and the other two were like really big names. So, like that's why I kind of went to Ethan Hawke, and I was like, is Brad Pitt too big of a name? I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely, I don't think there's like the perfect casting for an
Clooney.
older Hal Jordan. No, I'm sorry. He's too I don't want a fully gray Hal Jordan. I'm sorry. I don't.
Okay.
Like I need some color in that hair.
But you mentioned Brad Pitt and George Clooney.
He's not gray.
But George Clooney and Brad Pitt are like pretty close in age.
I feel you. I don't know what it is.
Just dye his hair.
George Clooney feels like 10 years older than Brad Pitt for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I wouldn't. And the thing is, like, yeah, I mentioned Ethan Hawke, who played a villain in Moon Knight, but like for the most part, like I don't think that's a very great role for him, and I'd rather see him in something else. I don't want to see any actors who have like already played a superhero. Like I don't think I really want that. That's just me. I know other people like really don't care, but
Leonardo DiCaprio.
I don't hate it. I don't hate
Joaquin Phoenix.
I hate that. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good direction to go in. I'm not upset at all that Josh Brolin passed. I don't think he was like the perfect choice. So, yeah, and I'm glad Hollywood Reporter confirmed it. So,
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. Could you imagine? There's just no way. There's like 100% chance you'd never, and they would never. But
or would they?
No, they wouldn't.
But couldn't they?
He'd just be such a wrong choice. He'd be like such a bad choice personality-wise, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think that's our thoughts on Green Lantern and that casting kind of news. But now we're going to talk about the big comments from Matt Reeves' interview this past week, and confirmed a lot of things about the Batman 2. Three big quotes were, first one being, so what was important to me was to find a way to take these pop icons, these mythic characters that everyone knows, and translate it so that Gotham feels like a place in our world. Basically, throughout, he's saying that, you know, he doesn't want to dip into the fantastical Folie, that he wants to keep this kind of a grounded universe. And I think, he even says there's a fun way to think about how we could take these characters that might push over into a bit of the fantastical and find a way to make sense of that. And then on the actual plot details for Batman 2, he says it's going to dig into the epic story about deeper corruption, and it goes into places he couldn't even anticipate in the first one. So it definitely does feel like we're maybe moving towards, I think we discussed it, like a Court of Owls kind of thing, which is incredibly grounded. But I do think it, like, yes, maybe there are Batman fans who are tired of seeing like a grounded Batman. I think it's the perfect direction for this Batman to go into. And I don't think it limits his rogue gallery that much. Like, no. I think there's a lot of villains you can pull from that are pretty grounded. You know?
Yeah. I think the idea that they were gonna go into having more of the fantastical characters in this show, just like I try to hear those people that say like, oh, but they could have a Clayface, and like,
right.
Maybe if you did it kind of close to the way that they did it in that Cape Crusader show that just came out. But the idea of like, maybe they'll have Man-Bat, or maybe they'll have like, I don't know, like a true Mr. Freeze, or God, who else? Like Killer Croc. Like the idea that they would go into this more fantastical side of things, I just like, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, did you see the same movie that I saw? Like, I feel like this is just like wishful thinking, like that, because I've heard comments from people who are like, why can't we get a Batman who is like more comic accurate? And I'm like, well, first of all, you got nothing but the fantastical elements of Batman for years. And it wasn't until the Christopher Nolan movies that we started to get our first glimpse of a grounded Batman. Secondly, the origins of Batman, he was just fighting criminals. He was in Detective Comics just beating up criminals. And it wasn't until later on that we introduced more of like villains, you know, like costumed villains and all that.
The Joker was pretty early on though, wasn't he?
I'm sure he was, but like it wasn't noir, it wasn't like crime. And so I just thought like it's just weird that like we're having that conversation. I'm glad we're getting it cleared up, and I'm glad that the idea is like, well, there is a way to like take the fantastical and kind of have it make sense. I agree. Like we've talked about how Mr. Freeze is a very plausible character, that you just have him have a sort of medical condition where he has to stay at a certain temperature, or you know,
and we've seen it in like Bane and in The Dark Knight Rises.
Sure.
Like he was incredibly like way more grounded than he ever was in the comics or the animated stuff. And I think you can do twists on characters like that. Like I kind of put together a list of like a bunch of villains that like I think you could still do. So you like, and ones we haven't seen yet in the universe. So yeah, Scarecrow, Two-Face, classic Clayface, Harley Quinn, Black Mask, Calendar Man, Deadshot, Firefly, Hugo Strange, Mad Hatter, Phantasm, Hush. Like you have so many cool ass villains for Batman to use that can serve Matt Reeves' universe so perfectly. Yeah, that's what I said Firefly.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, all good. But yeah, I think like those kind of like, you know, kind of fantastical villains like Bane or kind of like Firefly could be really cool to see if you like scaled them back a little bit to a grounded roots, you know. And
did you say Poison Ivy?
I did not. But I didn't think I don't know. It's like she's got like plant powers, you know? Like how do you ground that?
Like eco-terrorism, poisons, like you don't have to do the whole like actual plant powers.
Sure.
You're not gonna see like a Mr. Freeze freezing people with a freeze gun.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So then at that point there's only like a few villains at most that you just can't do for Batman.
You can't do Man-Bat.
You can't do
not do it.
Yeah, and I think even Matt Reeves was like, what was that ghost one that he
Gentleman
mentioned?
Ghost.
He's like, we can't do Gentleman Ghost.
But I am curious why he brought that one up. Maybe it's
because I've never even heard of that one.
Well, maybe it's because he was in the Cape Crusader show that Matt Reeves was a part of.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know.
That's gotta be it.
But you could do it, and
but it's a ghost. He's not going to put ghosts.
Hold on. Considering the idea that like the corruption goes deeper into places he couldn't even anticipate in the first one, to a lot of people, that screams Court of Owls for sure. But I do think that there is a potential way. Like, I'm not saying that Gentleman Ghost as an actual ghost, no. But if you were to portray him as like somebody who's kind of pretending to be a ghost of some kind, like it's in the way that his character is that there was a rich asshole back in the day who felt that something happened, and he was like one of the main founding fathers of Gotham, and he felt that either it was with like democracy or something, but he felt that like his money was going towards like the masses, and it wasn't something that he could just hold on to because he was of like the wealthy, like rich class. And so instead of stealing from rich people, this ghost is now just stealing from poor people, and stealing money from and I do think that there could be a way that like a great descendant of this guy could like come around and be like, the Waynes were a part of this, were connected with my family too, and like there's still some more sort of like money or like something going on. I'm saying
sure.
It would.
I don't think he can be a main villain for a movie for Matt Reeves, but I see what you're saying. Like even a ghost like that, like you can write him to where it's grounded and he's not an actual ghost. So
people are just like, oh my god, it's like a fucking ghost. Maybe not with that dialogue, but yeah. But it's why I was like, no, Poison Ivy can't work. I don't think that's gonna happen.
No.
But I do think that almost every Batman villain can be grounded. And
just gotta put a little spin on it. Yeah.
In terms of like the epics, like the story. By the way, did you read about what this Batman like universe is called officially? Oh
yeah, it's like the crime saga or something.
The Batman epic crime saga.
Yeah. So from what I hear, it's not like that's not what it's not what they want people to call it, but like internally, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, but now we're all gonna call it the Batman crime. What did you call it? The
epic crime saga.
Epic crime saga. So maybe that's another hint that they like are leaning into like what Penguin's leaning into, that it's like maybe more of a mob centered like
might
villains.
Be.
I don't know.
The first thing that like happens is like that I think about is Court of Owls, but I'm like, it seems so obvious that I'm wondering if it's like maybe it's something like Hush, where it's something where it's like his best friend. Or, and then like they also like the Elliots were also a big part of the Gotham City, like creating Gotham City, or were in a big part with the Waynes. So I don't know, like it could be Hush, it could be Ra's al Ghul, it could be, I don't know.
I do think Court of Owls is a little early, like for this Batman too. Like from what I hear, it's supposed to be like you know, like later on when he like has a really good feel for Gotham, and like then it's like a huge blindside when like all this corruption is like happening in different places.
Yeah.
Whereas like he's in year 2 right now, so he doesn't have like an insanely good feel for like how everything should be, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe he does, but I don't think you can like be exact, right, and know everything. So
yeah,
I don't know. I wouldn't mind maybe that being saved for a third movie. But yeah, I could still go with it now. I'm sure Matt Reeves is a great. I mean, I know he's a great writer, so I know he can spin it to where it works. So
yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is bad news. Will be heard from him at all. I think it's actually good news. So,
and I think if you do Court of Owls, you either have to do it this movie or you have to do it the last, like, or you either do it this movie, or if you're saving it for a third movie, then you're gonna have to make Joker like a big part of the second movie. I can't. You could.
He did set up Joker. I think he does want to do Joker at some point.
Like I find it would. I feel like it'd be kind of hard to do Joker and the Court of Owls, but I could see it. I wouldn't
just
mind. Like it might be a lot.
I wouldn't mind you say like him saving Joker till the third movie. That would actually be really cool. Yeah. I know a lot of people don't even like that Joker, but we don't even. I like it.
I like the deleted scene a lot.
I like that deleted scene a lot for sure. I'm glad it wasn't in the movie, but I still think it's great.
Yeah.
So, I
would have taken out the whole Joker sequence in the movie, to be honest.
Oh, at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably my least favorite part of the movie, funny enough.
You just don't need it.
You don't need it. But he clearly, in my mind, that means he clearly wants to set up a Joker.
Yeah.
You know? So, and like he was really, from what I hear, like trying to find a way to include that in the movie, and he just kind of couldn't. So, yeah. I think we've called it. Next movie's Court of Owls, and then third movie's gonna be Joker. I think,
unless they do Joker for the second movie.
Yeah, but you have to. But then, like, where's the corruption coming in?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be like it's still similar. Like the Riddler was definitely way more tied together in terms of the story, but there were still two stories going on. There was the corruption with like the Carmine Falcone, right? And then there was the stuff going on with Riddler. So there still were two stories. But like
Riddler was like it was so all tied together because Riddler was like trying to bring that to light.
I know. I'm saying like
I feel you. Yeah. It can work. But it takes a lot, I'm sure, to write that together. So and from what I hear, he's still not done with the script. So but it does begin filming early next year from what I hear. So hopefully we will get this by its release date, which is 2026. So I think we're on track still. I think we're good. But I think that's all the topics we had to talk about this week. Did you get to watch anything this past week and a half?
Yes, I saw Beetlejuice.
How was it?
It was fun. So I'm not gonna have a I'm not gonna have a glowing review. It wasn't like
from what I heard is that it was like there was a lot of storylines going on.
Yes,
it was a lot of
storylines going on.
It was a little too much of a mess. But from what I hear, like the acting was really great, and it's one of Tim Burton's maybe best in like recent years.
It's one of the best in recent years for sure. Catherine O'Hara is incredible in it.
Oh, great! So she's not like a minor part. She's like, is she even a bigger part than the first movie?
I can't remember, but she's in it like most of the movie.
Wow, yeah, she wasn't in most of the movie in the first one. I don't think.
And so she's great. Michael Keaton is really good. There's some really there is some really funny parts. There's some really good set pieces.
Nice.
I kind of wanted more out of Winona Ryder.
That's too bad.
And how
was Jenna Ortega?
Yeah, I was gonna say Jenna Ortega. She was good. She was solid,
but not great.
I liked her.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's just there was a twist that was pretty good. The stuff with Beetlejuice and his like Monica Bellucci's character.
I don't know if I know
maybe
that one.
Wasn't entirely necessary, and she's a new character.
Okay. Yeah.
The Willem Dafoe's character was kind of interesting.
Was he fun to watch in it? Like, was that a good time? Watching Willem Dafoe?
There was fun times. It's a weird movie. Like I wish there was more like. I was telling Hannah this. I wish there was more physical comedy like the first one, and I wish that there was more of like a cohesive all around story. Where this one kind of had like 2 or 3 kind of going on at the same time. And they kind of added up, but I don't think that it culminated into the way that like
it was in this grand finale, right?
Yeah. But in terms of like, did I have a good time? Like, yeah, it was good. If you like Beetlejuice, I think you should see it. I think that like, there's some really funny parts for sure. I don't know. I don't know if I'll watch it again.
Right.
But it was enjoyable.
Nice. Well, so do you think this sets up a Beetlejuice movie? Or do you think it's over? Oh, wow. Nice.
I do. Okay. The way it ends, I was like,
it's kind of
that seemed like not as much of a ending as it was like a there's something else going on here.
Interesting. Okay, well, I mean, I think that's the right move. Like, you can't just do the first 2 and not like finish it with the Beetlejuice, you know?
Right.
So, I'll still probably see it just to get my thoughts on it. But that's a little disappointing. Yeah.
I think everybody will have a different opinion about it because like one of the YouTubers I watched like absolutely hated it.
Whoa. Okay.
And everybody else on the video was like, you're just taking it too seriously.
Interesting. Okay.
And Hannah really liked it.
Oh.
So
okay. So everyone's got different opinions, it seems like. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, sounds good. Is that all you watched this week?
Is it? Probably.
Okay. Well,
probably.
For the, I think, 4th and last time, I have now finished. I finished Ted Lasso, and it was incredible. It was a wonderful series finale. I was genuinely really worried because like there were 3 episodes left in the entire show, and like so many things hadn't been wrapped up yet, and I was like, what's going on? Like, why are we taking so long? But then like the last 3 episodes were like a combined like 3.5 hours. And I was like, okay, yeah, we fit in a lot in these episodes and it works. And season 3 was it was really beautiful. I liked it more than season 2. It was definitely like a big romance season. Like there were just so many different like love stories going on in that 3rd season. But so many of the arcs for characters finish how I wanted them to, and in a very satisfying way. There's 2 arcs that I didn't love how they finished, but they're not. I don't hate them either. And the fact that they're bringing back a season 4 actually really pisses me off now because I don't see a way forward. Like they finished it so like yes, there's one thing that they didn't technically finish that they can go back to, but there's so many avenues that are closed off now. And I'm like, and so many arcs that are finished that I'm like, what is really the point of going back to this world rather than like greed and money? I just don't see a reason. And I'm upset. I'm upset that Jason Sudeikis and Bill Lawrence have decided to return for this thing because it was a beautiful ending. It really was. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend it so very much. And I'll be moving on to my next show or movie next week. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It took me a while to finish that one.
We did watch
we watched
Wanted.
Wow, that was I hadn't seen that movie in a probably 6-7 years. Been a while.
Oh my god.
That was a movie from like 2008, 2009, I think, and it was a really like one of my favorite action movies growing up. I'd say, and looking back at it, it is so crazy.
It's insane.
I like there are parts that like kind of do come back to reality like a little bit, and you do kind of enjoy some of the story that's going on, but there are some like just insane Fast and Furious like action in this movie, and I don't know, it's a fun time if you're not like looking for a serious movie. It's very much from the time period of like the late 2000s, you know. Yeah. It's like it's almost like a less ridiculous like Mission Impossible 2, if that's even possible. Because like Mission Impossible 2 is just like balls to the wall, like action and guns and like and fire, and you're like, okay, this is like slightly scaled back from that. But yeah, it's crazy. And then we started 9, but we didn't finish it. So
yeah.
But 9, I mean, it was still a good first half that I saw. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's then everything we watched, right? I
think so.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you everyone to sticking around and watching or listening. If you want to listen and watch these in the future, we usually release on Mondays. Sometimes we're a little off. But if you want to follow our social medias as well, those are the links to those are in the description below. And if you want to give us a like, a comment, a rating, a review, or subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it.
And until next time. As always.